So, motherfuckers, the match between Lorenzo Lodici and Samuel Sevian was one of the most amazing of the World Cup, and I'm going to show us his 9th game of the match. In the first 8 game, of course, they tied 4-4, and now it's time of the blitz. So let's analyze this game. Okay, Sevian opened with e4, Lorenzo responds with e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, going for the reloaded, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, d3, the close reloaded. I prefer a little bit more to play short castle and later d3. But the idea of d3 is that here he avoid the lines with the Spanish variation, so for that reason many players employ d3 so early. The only problem of play d3 so early is that now black have the option of develop the bishop via to c5. But okay, this is approximately equal. So okay, d6, Lodici prefers to develop the bishop to g7 instead of, okay, bishop e7 or bishop c5 are the normal ways to develop the bishop, but he prefers to play d6 and develop the bishop to g7, who is completely playable, of course. Short castle, bishop g7, h3, short castle. And now Sevian makes a mistake, and it's very instructive to see how the machine punishes the mistake. Here he should just play a normal move like knight d2 followed by rook e1, who is the typical white moves in this position. But he played bishop e3, who looks so normal, just to can develop the bishop the knight later to d2 without block the bishop. But the problem of this move is that here black have a very good response with knight d7. Sorry, king h8 first, followed by knight d7 and f5, and the bishop is bad place on e3. Against other white moves, the move king h8 and knight d7 have not so much sense. But specifically after bishop e3, now king h8 is a very good idea. Lodici, instead of that, he played rook e8 like normal. But yes, for example, like against knight e2, rook e8 was a normal move. But concretely, after bishop e3, black have this very good idea of king h8. I want that you learn with this idea because it's so important. It's so typical in this position where white develop the bishop to e3, that now 5 f4 is coming with more strength. So here we good move king h8 followed by knight d7 and f5. That's the way to play with black here. Instead of that, Lodici is still playing normal moves, and he developed the rook to e8, knight d2, and now okay, white is fine. Knight b2, b5, bishop c2, and when the bishop goes to b2 instead of b3, black should react in the center with d5 like Lodici did. For example, if bishop b3, maybe not here, maybe you can develop the bishop to e3, to b7, to e7, I don't know. But just still developing the pieces. But after b5, when white goes to c2 DLD, used to be a good idea to play d5 and break the center. Doesn't matter if you made it into tempos, yes. You should just break the center with d5 in the lines with bishop c2. Okay, rook e1, white still the development, a6, knight b3, a5, a4, b4, everything is more or less normal until here. With e1 here, the machines prefer a little bit to defend with g5. But okay, king h7 is a normal move. The problem is that king h7 is going to suffer some tactical problems that we're going to see later. Knight c5, queen d6, white is putting some pressure in the opening, of course. Because if you here in this moment you don't punish bishop e3 with king h8, now the move bishop e3 becomes so good. So that's why white is completely fine here. Now he plays a very good knight on c5, queen d6, bishop b3, and here white is threatening a tactical idea who black completely missed. Black just still improving the pieces, but he missed the tactical idea of white. He should defend with rook d8 because after rook b8, who can look like a normal move, placing the rook in the open file have this problem of e takes. You should take with the knight, knight e4. You should go back with the queen. Doesn't matter where. Queen d8 looks the more natural. And now take. You should take. Everything is forced. And now bishop a6. That's the tactical resort that you cannot take here because knight f6 and white wins a pawn. So that's the white threat here. So always in your game you should ask what is your opponent doing, not only what is your plan. No, think what your opponent wants to do. So here he can defend more or less that with rook d8. But yes, the problem is that after all of this he just blundered a pawn and the game because the game is so difficult. Okay, he cannot take on e6 because knight f6. He tried that, but at the end of the line, now the g7 pawn is going to fall. and the black king is going to be so weak without the dark square bishop. So after just take and queen takes, now I have a pawn up and a safer king. So and apart the a5 pawn is weak, the e5 pawn is weak, the f6 square is weak. So white position here is completely winning. Knight a6, queen a5, rook b2, just develop the rook, just trade pieces, and with an extra piece, with an extra piece, here Lodici resigned. So very good victory of Sevian, who put him closer to the next round. But in the following round, Lodici yes tied the match and yeah, won the game and tied the match 5-5. And they reached the Armageddon. So I'm going to analyze the Armageddon in the next video. So let's see the game. Bye bye, motherfuckers.